queuing around the block. Morning. England is finally open for business.
I love shopping. It's my favourite thing to do.
I've saved more, not been in the shops for months, so I'll spend more.
But the excitement on the high street masked the bitter economic reality for many businesses. Still closed, still struggling, still under severe restrictions.
If you're in the hospitality trade and you're in Tier 3, which almost half the country is, then essentially no pubs and restaurants and cafes can function.
How damaging is that?
Well, catastrophic, obviously. So unfortunately, I think there will be more insolvencies, many more job losses. I fear you could have a serious spiral of decline in the coming weeks and months.
Figures today show that in England, 50,000 pubs, bars and restaurants still won't be able to open. That's because almost 40% of venues are in Tier 3, with 2/3 in the second tier and subject to complicated restrictions. In fact, only 2% of establishments are in Tier 1 and free to open normally. In Wales, the sale of alcohol in pubs and restaurants will be banned from Friday, and Scotland has its own tier arrangements, while Northern Ireland has a 2-week circuit breaker lockdown.
Well, there's no doubt that the hospitality industry as a whole, which employs over 3 million people, feels massively betrayed. And what's really sad is that a large proportion of that workforce are 20, 30-somethings who are, as we all know, in many respects, the biggest losers from lockdowns. And they are suffering.
On the river in London, the boss of one of Britain's oldest pub companies says he can only open 2/3 of his business.
The hospitality industry was thriving as we came into this pandemic. Through the government's restrictions and the measures that they feel they have had to take, they've really penalised the hospitality industry over the retail. Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt.
But you've had all of this support, haven't you?
We've had very little direct support. There's a lot of indirect support around the furlough scheme, which has helped prevent mass unemployment in this country. But actually, the industry has seen very little direct support. I really struggle to make sense of the tier system. I think the government is working on a hypothesis that if we drink 2 pints with our friends, we are going to be responsible for the spreading of the virus. It's simply not true.
This unparalleled and sometimes contradictory government intervention has left many companies and MPs feeling resentful.
We've lost a lot of trust and a lot of faith in the government. I think the crucial thing now will be, as we navigate through this winter, are we going to get the right level of support for pubs that can't reopen? Yesterday's announcement is actually quite insulting.
After yesterday's rebellion, the Prime Minister was still arguing the case for restrictions.
That is why it's very important that the package of moderate but tough measures that the House voted for last night, the tiering system, is followed across the country, because that's how we will continue to beat the virus.
And it's not just pubs. An unpublished government dossier is reported to label cars, aerospace, tourism and the arts as sectors at risk, with forecasters Capital Economics suggesting output in December could slip 3% below levels before lockdown. That rough calculation means that the tier system could be costing us up to £160 million a day. Do you think the government's management of the crisis has caused an erosion of the mantle that the Conservative Party is the party of business?
I think it shattered it. I'm afraid to say that all those business people, entrepreneurs and investors I talk to have completely lost faith in the Conservative Party, and certainly the leadership of Boris Johnson and his cabinet, because they feel that these lockdowns to a large degree have been disproportionate and destructive and harmful. And the job losses and the betrayal of investors are such that it's going to take a very long time for confidence in the government to recover.
The Chancellor joined the Christmas shopping rush this afternoon with a quick trip to Hamleys. But the gift he and others will be most keen on is Britain's economic recovery.
Well, I've been speaking to Pippa Wicks, the Executive Director of John Lewis and Partners, and I began by asking her about the toll the pandemic has taken on her business, with staff laid off, and how crucial the next few weeks will be in terms of sales.
The staff that we have let go during the pandemic were in our stores that were performing not to a level that we were comfortable with before the pandemic. And actually what the pandemic done has accelerated shopping behaviours, more online. But our stores are really, really important to us.
But how much rests on this? Is John Lewis facing an existential challenge in a week when we've seen, Debenhams, Bon Marché, Topshop, all of these big high street names going under? Is the future guaranteed?
It's absolutely not an existential moment for John Lewis. We feel really sad for the people working for Arcadia and Debenhams. It's never pleasant when somebody leaves the high street. It's obviously very difficult for those employees running up to Christmas knowing they're losing their jobs. Our business model is very, very different. We don't have external shareholders. We have partners who own the business. So all the money we make, we can invest in our customers, in our business infrastructure, and in our partners. We've got investment going into online, £180 million over the next few years, and we're also investing in our stores. Already Sheffield, Edinburgh and Peter Jones will have some investment as well.
But obviously you've had to close your flagship Birmingham store. Big chunks of real estate like the store we're seeing behind us. Is that really possible? Is it viable in the future?
It's absolutely essential to the offer we have because of the services and experiences that we already offer in store you can't get online. But as we go over the next several years, you'll be able to get really exciting things in stores that you can't get elsewhere.
You talked about reinvesting in the business. There's been no staff bonus for the first time since 1953. Management did take a pay cut over the summer, but are you taking your full pay now?
We're all back to taking our full pay now, yes.
Is that sustainable?
It's in our plans that that's what we're doing,
despite the job cut.
As is also investing more in frontline pay over the next few years. That's really important to us.
Given you've only just reopened after this second lockdown, how would you view another lockdown if this wave of economic activity and then the Christmas break fuels a rise in infections again?
So obviously we would all hope not to have another lockdown, but we're very blessed because our online business is very large. This year it's grown 73% in the first half of the year. It'll be a 30% bigger business by the end of the year. So if we go into lockdown again, then obviously John Lewis Partners will go and work in Waitrose and in our distribution and call centres. And then our online business will be able to take up from there.
So you'd survive another lockdown?
Absolutely, we would. And obviously we're very blessed to have both shops and online.
Just finally, clearly we've been talking about the huge challenges that retailers face. Lots of talks going on about Brexit at the moment. If there was to be no deal secured with the EU, how big a blow would that be for you and for businesses like yours?
So we've been planning for Brexit for some years, as you know. It's been coming for a while. It is a bit challenging because, as we all know, the docks are a little bit congested at the moment. That will probably be the biggest challenge for all retailers, not just ourselves. But at the moment we feel pleased with how our contingency plans have held up and where we sit. We hope to get a deal. If we don't, we will still continue to trade successfully.
You say the docks are a bit congested at the moment. Are you seeing that feed through into product availability at all yet?
Yes, a little bit. I think everybody is. So I think it's well trailed in the press that Folkestone has had some congestion, and we're all dealing with that. All retailers are dealing with it and prioritising which containers to take out first. But I think that it will trickle through. It's not as if it's completely stopped. It's just a little bit slower, a few days slower than we would normally experience.
Pippa Wicks, thanks very much.
Thank you.